Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in, because today we've got a massive and honestly super exciting mission. We are going to build a state-of-the-art, 2026-ready AI Treasury Management System, or TMS for short, and we're going to do it layer by layer. Look, if you work in finance, you already know that the way we manage liquidity, payments, and risk, it's undergoing a literal tectonic shift. We're moving away from a world of static data and straight into one of dynamic, autonomous intelligence. So we're going to pop the hood and look at exactly how the very best organizations are designing this architecture from the ground up.
But first, let's establish why this matters right now. Think about it. Is your treasury team still fighting massive data volumes using legacy spreadsheets? Because if they are, frankly, they're losing the battle. Every single day, your team gets hit with this absolute flood of bank feeds, ERP data, payment files, and legacy spreadsheets simply cannot keep up with that kind of volume, let alone process it all in real time. This isn't just about efficiency anymore. It's literally about survival. Upgrading to an AI-driven system is what's going to give you the speed and agility you need to stay competitive with these incredibly fast-moving fintechs that are constantly raising the bar. It is time to stop manually gathering data and start actually making strategic decisions.
Okay, let's dive into this. To build our ultimate blueprint, we're going to follow 5 steps. First, the cloud-native foundation. Second, connecting banks and data. Third, the AI intelligence layer. Fourth, deploying agentic workflows. And finally, number 5, managing AI financial risks. All right, step 1, the cloud-native foundation.
Let's start with phase 1 of our build. Any architect will tell you that a strong house needs a solid bedrock, right? You just can't build a next-generation AI system on infrastructure that was designed back in the early 2000s. Now, you'll hear the word cloud thrown around a lot, but there is a massive technical distinction you really need to understand here. Let's compare them. On one side, we have cloud-hosted. This is essentially your old legacy software written for on-premise data centers that someone just lifted and shifted onto rented servers. It still suffers from batch-driven delays, and it requires these massive, super disruptive upgrade projects and version freezes. But on the flip side, we have true cloud-native architecture. This is software built from the very beginning natively on cloud infrastructure. It's API first, which means it handles real-time data exchange right out of the box, and it delivers continuous, seamless updates to all users simultaneously. So the really crucial takeaway here is this. This one architectural choice completely dictates whether your system will continuously improve and learn alongside your AI, or just age in place until you need a massive, costly overhaul in 3 years.
Moving on to step 2, connecting banks and data. So this is the plumbing layer of our blueprint, and it's absolutely vital, because an AI system is really only ever as smart as the data flowing into it. Now, what's really interesting to look at here is breaking down the reality of multi-bank connectivity. There are 4 main ways companies actually plug in. First up, direct APIs. These give you incredibly high-fidelity, real-time data, but you've got to build a custom integration for every single bank. It's best if you only use a few primary banks. Second is the unified API. This acts like a normalization layer, giving you one single API that translates data from thousands of banks. It is a real game changer for mid-market companies dealing with serious multi-bank complexity. Third, we have payment hubs. These are heavy-duty orchestrators managing everything from APIs to legacy files, usually reserved for massive enterprises moving over $1 billion in daily cash. And finally, host-to-host connections. This is the old reliable method for securely moving massive batch files for legacy AP and AR workflows. A modern TMS is usually going to blend these, but those API layers, those are what truly unlock real-time AI.
But getting connected is really only half the battle. The data itself also needs to speak the exact same language. Enter ISO 22000. This global messaging standard is busy transforming legacy MT messages into the new super-rich data MX structure. So why does this actually matter to you? Well, because it normalizes highly fragmented bank data into a single structured source of truth. With this new standard in place, the data is so rich and so well structured that your system can automatically match incoming payments to open invoices entirely without human intervention. Pretty amazing, right?
Just to give you a sense of the sheer scale here, consider this number, 1,600. That is the incredible number of distinct data fields available in an ISO 20220 end-of-day bank statement. Compare that to the tiny handful of fields you'd get in legacy formats. The sheer richness of data is exactly what our AI models are going to need to analyze payment behaviors, flag anomalies, and really understand your liquidity at a highly granular level.
All right, step 3, the AI intelligence layer.
Now that our plumbing is successfully pushing all that incredibly rich real-time data, we can finally install the brain of our TMS blueprint to start turning that raw data into actionable foresight. And the results we're seeing today are just staggering. AI-driven forecasting tools are now achieving up to 95% accuracy on short-term cash forecasts. We're talking about that critical 1 to 13-week range. Traditional spreadsheet forecasts just rely on historical averages and, well, human guesswork. But AI, specifically machine learning, hits that 95% mark by constantly analyzing millions of line-item payment behaviors, instantly spotting subtle market patterns that human analysts would almost certainly miss.
But forecasting isn't the only brainpower we're adding here. We also need our AI to fully understand complex policies and regulations. To do this safely, we use an architecture called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. Let's demystify this for a second. RAG is a system that, before generating an answer, actively searches a closed database of verified, approved documents. It retrieves the exact text, uses it as context, and only then formulates a response. This means every single output is fully traceable to a specific, real source, completely eliminating those dangerous AI hallucinations where the computer just makes things up. For financial professionals operating under strict compliance rules, RAG is completely non-negotiable.
So how does this actually play out in your day-to-day operations? Well, a Treasury-specific RAG setup essentially acts like an ultra-fast, perfectly compliant legal researcher. Your team can ask conversational questions about super complex internal Treasury policies and get the exact answers instantly. It can also perform horizon scanning to continuously monitor shifting global regulations, meaning you don't have to read every single new mandate yourself. It can automatically generate narrative summaries for your board meetings, and honestly, most importantly, it provides traceable, verifiable citations for every single claim. That makes your audit processes incredibly smooth.
Which brings us to step 4. Deploying agentic workflows.
Okay, we have the foundation, we have the data, and we have the brain. Now we shift to the hands of our build. We're moving from passive AI insights into active, autonomous execution. Agentic AI essentially means software agents that are given a specific goal and the authority to act on your behalf, safely within set boundaries. Here's how the workflow looks. Step 1. The AI agents continuously monitor your real-time balances across all those bank APIs we set up, instantly detecting any anomalies. Step 2. If something looks complex or risky, it flags that exception for a human to review. And Step 3, this is where the real magic happens. It autonomously executes the routine, repetitive approvals and reconciliations. This fundamentally changes Treasury operations by driving us straight towards straight-through processing.
And just to anchor all this excitement in reality, this isn't just some shiny new toy. Research is showing that this level of digitization and AI automation reduces Treasury operating costs by a massive 20 to 30%. Agentic workflows aren't just industry buzzwords, they represent a measurable, totally dramatic reduction in manual labor. This allows your highly skilled Treasury experts to focus entirely on big-picture strategy instead of just doing repetitive data entry.
And finally, step 5. Managing AI financial risks.
We are at the final stage of our build. We've built an incredibly powerful, autonomous engine, right? But hey, a fast car is completely useless if it just flies right off the track. We need the safety rails, the compliance and governance required to keep this whole system in check. Fortunately for us, we actually have a literal building code to follow. The U.S. Department of the Treasury recently released a landmark set of resources designed specifically to guide the safe use of AI in the financial sector, creating the Financial Services AI Risk Management Framework. This document is essentially our blueprint for trust.
What's really fascinating here is the completely impartial perspective from federal regulators on this topic. As Paris Malek, the chief AI officer at the U.S. Treasury, stated, "Clear terminology and pragmatic risk management are essential to accelerating AI adoption in financial services, reducing uncertainty and supporting consistent, scalable implementation." The biggest takeaway here is that regulatory bodies actually want to accelerate AI adoption. They absolutely recognize its value. But that acceleration is only permitted if it's strictly governed by pragmatic, demonstrable risk management.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we do that. The framework provides some highly practical tools. First, it establishes a shared AI lexicon, so your tech, legal, and business teams are all finally speaking the exact same language. It adapts the rigorous NIST standards specifically for the unique nuances of financial services.
It also gives your team tools to evaluate individual AI use cases way before deployment, ensuring you manage risks across the entire lifecycle. Ultimately, it embeds accountability, transparency, and resilience right into your code and into your corporate culture. This ensures your new AI TMS is totally up to code and actively protects your business and your consumers.
So we've built the architecture, we've connected the data, activated the intelligence, empowered the agents, and installed those crucial safety rails. The blueprint is complete, but I want to leave you with one final thought to take away from this explainer today. When the AI handles the massive data volumes, perfectly dials in the cash forecasts, and completely automates the routine execution, what will your treasury team's new strategic superpower be? Because the future of finance isn't about replacing human intelligence, it's about elevating it. Thank you so much for joining me to build this out today. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time.